live stream. All right, it's up. And your crotch? No, we're not getting that. Somebody who I have been waiting to officially introduce to you, of course you've met Regan and she's spoken briefly. Regan is clearly someone who understands the power of mindset, right? And we know that, and you've heard a very small part of her story and how she has been successful in business from a very young age and built her online business from zero to over $150,000 per month in a 9-month period. She lives an incredible life and she impacts tens and tens of thousands of people all around the world and is already stepping into her rightful role, impacting millions and creating her empire and revolution along the way. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce my amazing friend Regan as our special speaker for this event. Live stream out. All right.
Hey guys, how are you? Great. Regan's cat is doing an amazing job. It's so cool being in this room and just being like hanging out at the back and absorbing all the energy. And yeah, I said to Kat last night, I was like, I'm so impressed with the caliber of people that are here. It's really exciting. You know, you get some rooms and it's kind of like hit this a little bit, but you guys are all like boom. So it's super cool. Who here hasn't heard my story before? Like, I know you might have, yeah. Oh, that hurts. I'll start off and I'll give you the shorter version so that we can get into some really good stuff. But obviously, you know, I always tell my story in a way where you guys can pull some stuff out, you know, regardless of what age or stage or whatever you are, that you can obviously apply straight away. So after that, let's talk on money, let's talk on mindset, let's talk about daily rituals and maybe even becoming the person that you need to become in order to receive that income. Sound good?
Yes.
Cool. And then we'll go with some Q&A because again, like I can like tell you like so much stuff. I just did a 2-day money mindset workshop, so I've got like all this like I'm like, how do I get that into like an hour? So we'll do Q&A. So I give you guys actually what you want basically. So, long story short, you know, like I said, I grew up in Auckland, New Zealand, and was really fortunate to have a great family that really believed in education and working hard, so I went to a great school, and I was very much someone that was like fitting into the system. It was like, you know, it was expected of me that you go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a job. Is that like anyone else?
Oh my God.
Okay. And it's kind of like, even though my parents actually ran their own small business, it was kind of like, you know, I had that opportunity, so I should have taken it. So I worked really hard and I did that, and I remember, you know, I have a degree in architecture of all things, not that I've ever used, I've never worked a day in my life as an architect. I've got a really cool piece of paper. I've also got a degree in music, so I've always been an artist and a creator and a total muso and just like a little bit of a crazy person as well, but I always believed from young down that path. But I want to be an architect. What the hell do I want to do, right? And that's what confused me. So that's what spurred me in at a really young age into personal development. So I started literally reading books. I'd like Google money online. Oh, sorry, not money, like how to make money online. I'd literally Google like how do you start a business, like, you know, how do you get out of a job? Like, I wasn't even in a job, I was trying to get out of a job, right? And I went to all these seminars and courses, like I borrowed money off my parents, off other people, like I was just literally doing whatever it takes. You know, I worked and had my own businesses through uni, so I was self-sufficient. So I didn't actually have a student loan as such. And then I decided to take one out and then like sneakily use it for coaching, personal development and travel, right? Not what you need to do, you're used to. But I was literally like, what can I do to make this work? So it was through that process that I was doing a lot, right? Like I was doing courses on investing in property, trading currency, like starting businesses, internet marketing, like all this stuff. And I felt so much like I was investing and working really hard, but I wasn't really seeing any results. Has anyone done that where it's like you're like doing like this and you're like, when's it going to change, right? And I had this one mentor. He wasn't a mentor at the time, but he became one. And I remember sitting at the back of the room with him, and I was almost on the verge of like giving it all in and being like, maybe I'm just meant to be an architect. And I remember saying to him like, I've spent this, I've done this, like I've gone all in basically. And he turned around and he said to me, he said, well, you know, Regan, you don't really get the whole 80-20 thing, do you? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, exactly, right? Yeah. And he goes, you haven't heard before, right, that it's actually 80% mindset that is going to drive your results and only 20% strategy and mechanics. And I was like, huh? And he said to me, you know, how much work are you doing internally on your mindset right now? And I was like, like, I'm just like doing the do that I thought was going to get me results. So that spurred me into going deep with it and working on blocks and limits, NLP, hypnosis, like you name it, I've done it, like total junkie once again. But I noticed that the minute I started doing that, everything started shifting. At first it was like little things, and it became bigger things, and people were starting to notice. They're like, your life is changing, you're doing different things, you're starting to make more money, like how is it happening? And I just got validation after validation after validation that it was this stuff that was working. And yeah, sure, I had some strategy, but I had it before, and it wasn't working before that. So, you know, I loved the process of that. I loved that I could see everything shifting from doing the internal work. So that's what drove me into being a coach. And that's when I really thought, well, what if I can help other people gain some clarity around their life purpose? That's what I was doing at the time. What if I can help other people figure this 80-20 stuff out and actually go within? So I started working one-on-one. We had people that had done like a lot of one-on-one stuff before. Yeah, I was really good at it, and I loved it. It was super cool. I was basically doing that full time. I finished my degree, by the way, because I was like, I finished things I start. So I was at uni, but doing that. And I remember I got to a point in time where I was just kind of exhausted. Like I was booked out, I was earning good money, but I was doing like 8 hours a day, back to back, sometimes more with client calls like this. Has anyone like overbooked themselves, right? So that's when I was like, okay, this has to change, something's got to change. And it clicked with me actually at an event, The Power of Leverage. And I saw someone speaking from stage, selling their coaching program, but talking to like hundreds of people. And I was like, oh my God, I get it. You don't have to talk to everyone individually day in, day out. So that's what started my next company, which was a coaching, speaking, and education company. So, you know, we built that to over $500,000 in the first year. Like we went all in, and we'd literally go Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, Auckland, and one weekend off, and then loop and loop and loop. Like it was fun, it was massive, and from the outside, everyone was like, I'm so jealous of your life. Like you get to travel, you get to impact, you're making money, like this is so cool. But there was something in me where it just like wasn't quite right. And looking back on it now, and talking about alignment, it was probably like I was like 95% in alignment. Like there was this little bit that was off. We were talking about it right the other day. Has anyone else had that? Where it's like on the outside, everyone's like, you should be grateful for what you have. Like how many people would kill to be in your shoes, right? But deep down you're like, there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more. So we were actually in Bali, and I remember saying to Lee, we went for 4 weeks, by the way, and it was really a holiday because my work wasn't online at that point in time, and my business was taking a hit from me being there. It kind of stopped when I wasn't there, to be honest. I remember saying to him, like, we've got to find a way to do this online. Like, we've got to find a way to impact more and have the lifestyle freedom to do whatever we choose. And that's when we honestly just made a decision. I was like, let's just do it. Like, let's just figure it out. We literally went back to Melbourne. We spoke about that on the Monday. By the Saturday, we were in Bali. We packed up our stuff, left a whole lot of our stuff at Lee's parents' place in like back room. They're still there, most of it. and we literally moved. And I put myself in a position where we had to make it work. We had to figure it out. And that's literally, that was like roughly 9 months ago. That's when I was like, okay, I'm going to build a personal brand. I'm going to quit trying to be anything I'm not. I'm just going to show up as me. I'm going to share my message. I'm going to impact people. I'm going to have massive goals, and I'm going to go for it, right? And that literally leads me to where I am today. So that's quite recently. Make sense?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that in a nutshell. That shared, you know, financial results. I don't need to go over that. But what I'd love to talk to you guys about today is, again, some of the mindsets that have got me to where I am that you can then go and apply, because it's this whole thing around 80-20, but it's also around doing the daily work. You know, Lee was sharing around relationships, and we were talking about how it's work. Like it never stops being work. Like you've got to focus on it daily, you've got to do it daily, and you have to do your money stuff daily as well. Okay? So who here has like a daily money ritual? Like who daily? Like honestly. Daily, guys. Because sometimes the daily is like third daily or like weekly daily. And it's like, no, daily. And it's so crucial. So can I get some shout outs from people? What do you guys do currently in your money rituals? I know Kat's done a lot of work on this recently. We do a lot of similar stuff, so I don't want to loop around on that. I'm going to give you some extra stuff. So who wants to share? Yeah.
I'll share. I'm Suzette. One of the things that I do daily is I will send out letters And typically I will get because I'm asking, and no one else will ask. So
Awesome.
Love that.
Taking aligned action and actually just doing it. And you do that daily. Yes, that's awesome. That is so super cool. All right, nice. So if you want to share with us?
I read, I recently started purchasing Wealth Smith books and books on investment and wealth. I actually, in the past, when I was a teenager, I was a stockbroker when I was a teenager. So I know about investing, but as I got older, I kind of drifted away from it. So I know that in order, whatever you focus on is what increases. So I read about wealth, not every single day I should, but that's basically my practice. And not just reading things about, investing in the stock market and things like that, but actually reading things about what are the habits of rich people, what are they doing and stuff. And I implement things from the books, not just reading them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and that ties into identity and stepping into who you have to become, which is something I can share, and something that a lot of my clients do. A lot of my clients tend to be close to hitting their first million or getting to that point, and I'm like, well, you have to start thinking, talking, acting, breathing, sleeping like you're already that person that's generating $1 million a year. So by getting into those habits and those routines, that's awesome. Yeah. One more share. Anyone else want to share? Yeah.
So mine is, I don't know how I feel about it, but every day I track my money, and I actually use this great tool from Kat, and I always look at our income and expenses every day, and then I look at my book sales every day, and look and see what's coming in, and I've been in this major drought. And so my husband's business is doing well, and I manage that money too.
Right.
And the way we've been doing it until now, until a month ago, is how much can we transfer?
Okay.
That conversation, and it sucks. And we have thought about it. But now we're we have another account, we pay ourselves first every week, and that's building and building.
Right.
But I still have work to do.
Right.
But every day I do pay my bills and very organized.
Yeah.
But
okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. And I'm going to share some stuff which will help with that other side of things. But firstly, I love what you shared, and Kat and I pretty much do exactly the same thing. You need to, this is the step number one, right? You need to have a total awareness of where you're actually at. So many people ignore their money stuff. I don't even, get why. I'm you wouldn't, get a relationship, then, ignore him. It's the same thing. You have a relationship with your money. You need to honor it. You need to respect it. You need to face it for what it is. You literally need to, look in the eye and be okay, where is it? Good, bad, ugly, whatever. So you can, again, you probably have a system for this already, but what I do, I literally am okay, money coming in, money coming out, and then gold money coming in, and what I expect to come in. So I actually create that and connect with that daily. And I notice, if I drop a day or two, my income drops. Every time. It never, randomly goes up. It's always what I focus on, I receive more of. I'm Kat's doing a novel thing that I've been doing for a long time. So, okay, here's the next thing to know is that money is just energy, right? And when you truly get this, it's kind of like it's a game. And we, as society, we have so much stuff around money where we've got, so much social conditioning and beliefs and things and thoughts and, oh my God, so much debt, and then all of a sudden that's a negative thing, there's energy, and we recreate the negative energy, there's all this stuff going on. But what if you were to, completely remove yourself from that and just literally go, money is a game, and I'm just here to play the game. Do you play a game of I don't really play games, but let's money game. let's say you're playing a game of Monopoly or something. If you start losing in Monopoly, do you lose your shit and start sweating and oh my God, this must mean I'm a really bad person? I'm losing the game, right? How do I turn it around? How do I win the game? Oh, I lost the game. All right, well, let's start a new game. And that's literally the mindset of how you need to look at it, right? You don't get caught up in it. You don't start believing because you suck at Monopoly, you don't deserve a partner and all this other stuff that we start creating. You just don't, right? But when you look at it, money's a game. And guess what? You get a fresh new game every single day. But it's your job to jump in and actually play the game and take responsibility for the game. And you get to choose what game you play. You get to choose what level of income, right? You guys are all in a situation that you should be so grateful for because it's uncapped. You're not sitting in a job where it's like, well, I can really only earn this much unless I have a promotion and it'll go to this much, right? You have so much potential, and you need to actually tap into that gratitude and go, oh my God, like, it's me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me, right? So having that awareness that it's a game, and then connecting into the right energy with it. So here's what I tell people, some people are really good at using whatever mindset tools you use generally in the morning, and they might just get into the feeling of abundance or the 100K or the $1 million or whatever it is for you. You might meditate on it, you might visualize about it. Some people do tapping, like whatever you're doing, right? And they do this and they're so good about it. They're like perfect student, they do it for 20 minutes and it's like, yay. And then the rest of the day kicks in and they get a bill and they're stressed out and then they have a negative conversation with their partner about money. What do you think they're going to manifest? More of the shit, right? So here's what I say, like it's all very well and good. You can be like the most perfect person about doing your daily money routine, but if that doesn't follow through like constantly, it's going to happen for like the other 23 and a half hours. It's like it's not enough just to do that. You have to constantly be in that state. One thing I get my guys to do is like, often I'm like, okay, set an alarm for like every minimum 3 hours, 2 hours, or 1 hour if you're really committed to this. And set a little alarm which just goes off. And when that does, just stop what you're doing and get into the state of abundance, whatever that is for you. Get into the state of receiving your money goal. Now it might be a calmness, like a power, like a control, like a yeah, I've got this, like I deserve this, or it might be a total celebration. Whatever it is for you, you need to tap into that. And you need to be constantly clocking into that daily, hourly, right? Half hour if you can do it. And I tell you what, you can keep doing that. I promise you, if you do that for like a month, you'll start doing this stuff automatically. You won't need to be training yourself and reminding yourself. It's like when you drive a car, you don't have to like get the manual out every time you drive, like you've got it, right? And that's the thing, your mindset will get so used to clicking into that. We always joke in Bali because generally I go get a massage like every 2 to 3 days, sometimes even more. For me, that's not about the massage, even though that's great. I'm manifesting in that hour. Like all I'm focusing on is my goals, is my money, is everything that I want to manifest in my life. And I'm getting into that energetic state like constantly through that whole time. I kid you not, like later that night, always, I make more money than I make during the day. Like always. And it's like sometimes like, how does that even, that person said they were going to pay tomorrow and now they're here? It's like it happens. But again, I'm conditioning myself to constantly tap into that. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Awesome. So on that, let's chat on identity. Because again, if you do your money ritual, if you get clear on where you're at, if you tap into this energy stuff, but if you don't shift your identity, nothing is going to change. It's so important, right? You have to become the person that is deserving and worthy and capable of receiving the money that you desire. You have to become it. And society's got it backwards because everyone's like, oh, well, when I receive the money, then I'll be like this. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be abundant. Then I'll have choices. No, you're never going to get it, right? You have to step into the zone of having already received it. Okay, and this has to be with like crystal clear focus and detail. Kat and I were talking about this last night. Like, if you have no reason for receiving that money, you're never going to get it. It's not enough to be like, I want, $100 grand a month. Why? Oh, I don't know, just because it'd be cool and I can just like say I've done that and I put it in my savings. It's not enough. You need to break it down like to the cent, to the dollar. You need to start thinking, if the goal is 100 grand a month, you need to start going, well, if I've already received the 100 grand a month, I'm not focusing on 100 grand a month, right? You're that broke. True? You're focusing on like 150, 200, 500. So you need to start aligning for those goals. You need to start going, well, I've got 100 grand a month now coming in every single month. What am I doing with it? My savings account's getting out of control. This shit's got to change. What am I going to donate it to? What am I going to invest back into my business? What coaches can I invest in? I need to get clear on this stuff. And it's not enough to go, I have a personal stylist and I'll work with a high-end coach. Who? Tell me who. Tell me how much they cost. Tell me where they are. Tell me if they have availability for a client right now. But this is the stuff I do. Like, people are like, oh, you live in dreamland. I'm like, I live in manifestation, make shit happen faster. Like, every single time. Okay, you have to become it. Now, what's important around identity as well is that I think some people that do identity work, granted, are probably good at going about all the good stuff and going, this is what I'm going to achieve, this is how I'm going to feel, this is, the person that I'll become. but they don't acknowledge the other side of it. Like everything has a flip side, right? So you have to start thinking, well, if I'm that person that's doing 100K a month, what fears are going to come up for me, right? What limitations am I going to have on myself? What beliefs are going to creep in? What self-talk, right? What do I need to let go of at 100K a month? Because here's the thing, you're never going to receive something different until you actually give something up. Now that might be an environmental thing, you might have to give up some family, sorry, but you might. You might have to give up some friends, you might have to give up some social time, you might have to give up some time and some money, right? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up in order to receive that? Society doesn't like to tell you that you have to give up stuff to get something good, but it's kind of true in a sense. You have to let go of stuff in order to shift into becoming someone else. Making sense?
Yes.
Cool. Are there any questions on identity, by the way, while we're hanging on this bit? Yeah.
What if we set a goal instead of making 100K a month, but we don't actually know what it feels like? How do we create that? Because I guess we just decide how we want to feel.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because here's the thing, you're never going to know, right? And then when you hit 100K, you're not going to know energetically what 200K or $1 million a month. You're not going to know. So you have to decide what it's going to feel like. But here's the cool thing, like energetically, if you really get into that zone, like your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between dreams and realities, right? If, you know, when you wake up and you're like, is that real? And your conscious mind has to be like, no, right? If we can get your unconscious thinking it's actually happened, you will manifest the exact feeling that you will feel once you hit it, right? And if it, by the way, if it starts appearing as a little bit of a feeling that's coming from a space of I must or I have to or, you know, that kind of thing, that, again, it's not going to manifest because that's got a negative charge on it. That's not a positive charge associated to that. Does that make sense? You basically choose. You choose. You just go, well, what would it feel like? And you know what? The clearer you get with it, the more easier it is to feel that feeling, right? Write it out. Write it into existence. Talk about it. Speak it into existence, like constantly, over and over and over and over again. Is there another question?
I have a question, but
Yeah.
I have no question to ask right now.
Okay, well, I'll tell you if it's
Okay.
not good to ask right now.
So I had this time in my life where I did manifest $10,000, and I got it really fast.
Yeah.
And our tax person was just like, "You're getting $10,000." It was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then, like a year later, we found out that was totally wrong. He effed up, and I felt energetically like there was something, like a feeling of like I didn't deserve the $10,000 I got, that I manifested. So I guess my question is, when you do manifest things quickly, that like fear of losing can pop in. Can it? Like reverse.
Yeah, and you won't, I bet you still don't have that $10,000. Yeah,
no.
right. And that's why. Because you allowed a fear of, oh, I didn't deserve it, to pop in. And look, that was triggered by an external situation of, oh, the money wasn't like received in the right way or whatever. So you kind of backed it up with some logic to be like, see, my fear's right, it's valid, true.
Yeah.
But it's a relevant point, guys, because you can create the fear away yourself. You can get to an income level and go, holy shit, like that's so much bigger than what I've done before, and maybe I'm not at this level, maybe I don't deserve it. What's it going to do? It's going to be like, ciao, you're not ready for me. Right? Yeah. So you choose, that you control it. You guys spoke on fear like so beautifully on the first day, right? You need to look it in the eye, you need to face it. It's going to be a real thing. It never goes away. In fact, it gets worse. But it's how you deal with it that counts, right? The world's only going to give you what you can handle, right? And the amount of money you have right now is simply a reflection of what you are putting out that you can handle. It's also, by the way, a reflection of all of your past beliefs and decisions stacked up, right? So why are we getting upset if it's not good about the money situation in the past? When you can't touch it, you can't change it, it's simply a result, it's like a mirror of exactly everything that's gone on. Why would you not just put your focus in the future about how you can fix it? True? Yeah.
Can I just really quickly share that's exactly what happens because I manifested this trip that I'm on right now.
Right.
It's a 2-week trip to Australia and I literally manifested just enough to the dollar to cover my hotel and to food 2 weeks. It's not like, you know, what was stressed about. Yes, I guess it was about, that's what I thought I was ready for and deserved. So I manifested with clients, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was like enough and it was abundance, but it wasn't like, you know, spend the budget.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you do this work, you'll be surprised how stuff shows up like to the cent sometimes. Like, honestly, which will blow your mind. It'll be like, that is freaking crazy. crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a question? No, perfect. What was I going to talk on? Let's talk a little bit on up-leveling, because just having a couple of conversations with you guys in the room about some of the money stuff. And obviously, you know, you guys play a big game and you play at a high level, and I know you feel like you're kind of just getting started, and it's like there's so much more there. But who would agree that maybe there's some fears around, like, you know, what if it goes away, or how do I handle it, or how do I keep moving forward? Yeah? Okay. So, what you need to start realizing is that, okay, a couple of things. Basically, when you're setting your money goals, and I think I touched on this briefly yesterday, I can't remember. I never remember what I said there, by the way. So I'd be like, can you repeat that? Because I never can. So basically, if you just set a money goal and you're like, okay, I'm going to set a big money goal, you need to set it big enough that it feels big and that it does feel a little bit scary and a little bit like I'm not quite sure how that's going to happen. But you also have to have the energy about it authentically, congruently of, well, I've got this. It will happen. It will happen at some point, and here's when I'd like it to happen. It will happen by this time. Versus going, I want to create this, and having like a dream money goal, right? Where even if you're like, it will happen, it will happen, it will happen, deep down you're like, nah, right? Because again, you're never going to actually achieve that if you don't believe it with every cell of your body, if you're not totally aligned with it. So what you're going to do is you're going to like go and be like, I'm going to do this, and then you'll be like so far off it, you'll be like, see, I can't do it. It doesn't work, nothing works, and it's validation unconsciously that you don't deserve the money because it hasn't showed up. So again, you want to be careful on that stuff. But when you're moving towards a level, has anyone hit like an income level before where it's like, okay, cool, I hit the goal, and then you bounce back down, right? Have you had that? Okay, it's so normal, so normal. And what you need to understand is that, and I think you guys touched on this earlier, is that when you get to some sort of level where it's like, yes, I've made it, it's awesome. Yes, you need to celebrate it and acknowledge it. But like, that's the time to run, okay? That's not the time to chill out. That's the time to keep going. And I had a client call with someone this morning actually. She was exactly that. Like, we've been working together for 3 months, and she's kind of like, arrived. I'm like, you haven't arrived? Like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, I'm so happy. Like, I'm moving finally in a week, and financially doing this, my business, like, I've arrived. And I'm like, you need to get your ass in gear right now. Right now. Like, seriously. I was like, and I had to put a whole lot of pain onto her. I was like, you're going to lose it all. So I didn't tell you it's coming. You're going to blow it up. It's going to go. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, because you're not focused on what's next, right? And if you focus on solely where you are, eventually you're going to slip down. Well, you might stay there for a little bit, but ultimately you're going to slip, right? So you need to be conditioning your mind to see what your upper level is, right? So it's kind of like when you hit your upper level. It's like, I'm there, I'm arrived, you're super proud, celebrate that stuff. That's awesome. But what is the level above that? Right, and you need to be constantly conditioning your mind for this. Like I said in the goal setting and the manifestation, it's like if you're already becoming, or if you're stepping into have becoming the person that's received the money, you're not focused on that goal. You're focused on all the next level stuff. And here's why it happens, right? If your mind can't see what's on the other side of that goal, we're wired to keep ourselves safe. So your brain goes, what's on the other side? Must be dangerous. And you slip back down into safety, which is your comfort zone. Make sense? Yeah. Who's like a master at doing that, right? Your brains are awesome, they're working. They're like stopping you from like walking off the balcony because it's going, hey, it's not safe to do that. It's the same with money. But we need to acknowledge that and go, okay, it's cool, because by the way, there's no need for the fear, because look what's going to happen. And that's when you go, this is all the good stuff, this is all the potentially challenging stuff, and weigh it up. Like I've heard Kat say before, you know, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You go, bro. Okay, well, I could actually probably live through that. I'm not going to be dead, right? And your brain starts going, oh, she can keep me safe at that level. I get it. And you'll keep pushing forward. Make sense? Yeah. And that's honestly like the biggest way to overcome self-sabotage. And when you notice self-sabotaging behavior creeping in, who's the self-sabotager, by the way? Like, right? Language, actions, like everything, money, all areas of your life, by the way, this is relevant for. It's just your brain trying to keep you safe back in the place where it thinks you belong. We just need to kind of kick that and be like, hey, I actually belong up here, and here's why. And prove that to yourself. It's like your brain needs evidence. It's like it's a lawyer. It's like, tell me why. And then you have to like present it and show it everything. And then they're like, oh yeah, proved. Off you go. Otherwise it's like, nah, do that. Make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Your face. Question.
So when you're talking about conditioning your mind to see your upper level,
Yeah.
then the self-sabotage of, well, okay, how are you going to do that? And then getting caught in the like long laundry list of planning and then stuck and then it's not happening. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah, absolutely. Who else gets caught up in the how, by the way? Like, oh my god, yes, I can totally believe it, but how is it going to happen? So here's the thing. What I do to overcome that, because I'm a real how person as well, like that's something I battled with for ages. I was like, I need the plan of how to do it, and that's why I didn't like shift income-wise for ages and stayed at the same level, is for me, I actually do work on the how. I'm not someone that's like, I'll just ignore the how, it'll happen. I'm like, no, I actually do need to have some reference points on how it's going to happen. So for example, let's just say your goal is to manifest like $10,000 in the next week. If I was you, I'd be sitting down and I'd be writing out 20 different scenarios where that could happen, like specifically, right? Okay, maybe like 1 premium client and then 4 people throw in your membership offer and then, this money that's owed shows up. And I'd be writing out literally 10 different scenarios, 20 different scenarios or more, so that your brain can start going, oh, well, it's obviously going to happen because there's so many different options. Then taking aligned action, which is what we talked about. None of this mindset stuff works unless you actually go do something, right? Taking aligned action to actually creating and trusting that how will happen. And it's such a slight difference, but can you feel a difference between doing that and showing your brain the multiple options of every single way that this can manifest, plus knowing there's more, versus this is the one way that it has to happen. Makes sense? And this is for everything. Like I do this with opportunities. I'm very intentional. Figure that out with all my stuff, right? So, for example, I had a meeting in LA recently with a really super successful person, and the person that took me along was like, okay, cool, kind of like, what's your goal? And you know what? I had like 20 things that could have come out of that meeting. I was like, well, I would love this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen. And I'd done all the mindset work on that. But all I did when that meeting was arranged and I was walking in and I was ready to talk to this person, I just set the intention that something massive is going to happen, right? And long story short, it has, right? And it's not what I expected. It was not on my list. It was not like, oh, it was thing number 5. It wasn't that. But it was like, holy shit, it's actually better. So if I locked myself into like, well, it has to happen this way, I might not have even created the energetic space for that opportunity to show up. Because we would have been so focused on like, how do we make this happen? Same with money. Get the how, understand there's like multiple different ways that everything is going to manifest, be open to that, and then set the intention daily that it will. And take aligned massive action towards it. Make sense? So that answers your question? Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Any other specific questions? Should we go into Q&A?
Let's go into Q&A. Yeah, this is an amazing time. Like really just ask Regan anything that's come to mind. I know there will be people here who've probably got something that you're thinking, you're like, oh, I'm going to say it. Just say it.
And then ask like everything tomorrow. Question.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too personal, but can you tell something about how that income is built for you?
Yeah, it kind of varies every month, but I mean, it's pretty standard. And guys, like, I want to make this clear, I'm not an internet marketer. Like, I have no secret strategy. I like want to murder funnels on a daily basis. In fact, I don't even think I have any like active in my business properly right now, okay? My income comes from me showing up, sharing my message daily, and calling in with intention the right people that I want to work with. Sound familiar? And then where the money comes from varies from a $97 membership site through to working with me one-on-one high-end and some offers in between, like a 12-week online course. I have a Bali mastermind, which is, again, pretty high-end, 5 people that come to Bali. And again, then once a month I run like whatever I feel like course, to be honest. I do like a 30-day, like, I'm going to do this because it feels right. And then everyone's like, oh my God, that's so cool, and I do it. And I set the intention. So really, there's not much strategy other than the fact I have multiple income price points, it's layered, and I'm putting it out there all at once, and I know and expect that people are going to show up, and they do. And the right people show up and do. It's my strategy. There is no strategy. Like, if I'm to reword it, it's like almost 100% mindset. Because even like my strategy is kind of mindset, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of do the same, but my block is that I offer so much that it gets totally confusing for people.
Yeah. You sound like you're confused about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So you're going to attract people that are confused about it. Yeah. Get totally clear on it. Get clear on exactly what's going on, what's going to come from, and if it starts feeling confusing to you, because it sounds like you feel what's going on, then make it more simple.
Yeah.
You know? And you will literally attract whatever you're putting in. So if you're confused, if you think your prices are too high, no one will buy your stuff. Right? You have to, like, I always say this, you have to be your first client. You have to like enroll daily in all your stuff. Otherwise, if you don't do that, no one's going to see potential, even if you are brilliant, by the way. Yeah. Question.
I have a question. I would love you to share a little about your morning routine.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So it does vary, to be honest. Like, I guess I am quite intuitive about it, and I'm fortunate enough to, I guess, be conscious enough to figure out where I need to put my focus versus avoiding something because there's resistance, if that makes sense. There's a difference about going, oh, you know, I don't really need to do a lot of work on what are the clients I'm pulling in right now because you're happy with it versus like it's actually something you need to look in the face. So that's the first thing, is like actually getting clear on what you need to work on. It also varies in terms of my time, obviously. Like my morning stuff happens like without fail, like even if it's 10 minutes, right? It's like it has to happen, but ideally it's longer than that. So I start out literally, I journal, it's like the first thing I do, and I just write. And you know, I'm not like a super pro journaler, I don't have thousands of questions you guys, but I literally just like write what's in my head. Like good stuff, bad stuff, and then I literally become my own coach in my own head. So if I'm writing, whatever comes up, it's usually about like money and business, let's be honest, but like I do focus on everything. And when stuff comes up, I'll be really aware of any blocks that I see, right? So I'm in the zone, I might be writing like, you know, I'm going to manifest like 3 new private high-end clients this week, here's what they're going to be about, and then I might write like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? That feels so big. And then I'll be like, okay, well, if I have that belief, it's not going to happen, right? So then I take that one block and I work on it. And I'm like, okay, well, when did I decide that that was big? You know, why have I decided that receiving that amount of money within like a week, for example, with total ease, like when did I decide that couldn't happen? What if that could happen? What would that look like? What are like 20 valid reasons why I should be attracting these clients? And it just goes on and on and on and on. Like I could honestly like journal like all day. Like I literally need to be like, okay, that's enough time, Regan, enough time to work. Like go do something, right? But it's so beneficial. And I really notice it. So that's the first thing, it's the journaling, it's working through the blocks. I then write out my intentions for the day. So I literally write out, I'm so happy and grateful that this has happened. I do the daily intentions without fail. Usually, I also do weekly and monthly. Every now and again, I will do like big vision stuff. Big vision stuff as well. Like I'll do 6 months, 1 year, 5 years and beyond. Because again, you need to still have that focus on where you're going. But for me, like I love the big vision stuff. It would be a cop-out to do that and not the daily stuff. That would be getting stuck in the, oh my God, like $100 million a month, yay, I didn't hit it. Because I'm not actually focusing on the daily stuff as well. So you need to like condition yourself to see, you know, all ends of the spectrum. Now, when I'm writing all this stuff, I'm very aware energetically, emotionally of what's going on for me. I'm noticing if a little bit of like self-doubt or fear starts coming up, and sometimes I don't even need to write it, I just feel it, and then I work on that block. Versus as well, sometimes I'm like having a party with my journaling, and it feels so good. Like who's had that? And you're like, oh my God, it's actually happening, right? And sometimes Lee's like, are you alright? Who are you writing to? I'm like, but I tap into that, and I'm like, okay, that's the state that I need to be in order to become the person that receives all of this stuff I'm writing down. So for me, I start anchoring that, and I tap in and out of it constantly, like at least 5 times, and I set the intention to tap into that energy on like a multiple basis throughout the day. So that it's kind of like I set up the feeling for the day, and then I intend to carry that feeling through that whole day. You know, right now, like I'm talking to you guys, I'm focused on your stuff, but I'm still like internally feeling some of the stuff that I wrote down this morning, right? It's got nothing to do with the fact I'm speaking to people. It's because I've set the intention that that's how I'm going to feel today. You know, that's all a choice. What else? There's other things I do, but the other main thing I do is that I write out like my daily action items that I'm totally committed to. Now, my to-do list, probably isn't as big as cats, but it's like seriously ridiculous. So for me, if I found that if I literally write an intention list for the day, I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and there's like 5,000 things, I'm like, I don't actually believe I can get it done. Like, there's only one of me that needs to do all this stuff, right? So I actually commit to 3 items daily, like just 3, okay? And I'm like, okay, whatever it takes, I'm gonna get these 3 things done. And you know the stuff where you're like, I should have done it like weeks ago. And I commit to it. Now, I'll be honest, sometimes all 3 of those things happen at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, I can still get them done. I will not sleep until they're done, right? It's like a total commitment I've made to myself that this stuff is important because I know, like we talked about the aligned action, if you're not doing it daily, you're not actually going to move forward. So I'm really, really committed. What did Kat say? You said something really awesome. You're committed to your outcomes, or
Yeah, I take action based on the results I want to create, so result-based action.
And that's exactly it. And sometimes the action is not always fun. And sometimes it's like the one thing that I've been like avoiding with something on a landing page, and I know I just have to send an email for Christ's sake for someone else to fix. I haven't done it, right? But it's like I'm committed to the result and what that's going to do in my business. So I get clear on that. If I get past the 3, sometimes the 3 are done by like 10 a.m., then I just set more, and then I move on to like my standard to-do list. It's like gigantic. But those are the keys. Question?
Thanks for sharing all the journaling. You also, are you into like audio or video mindset stuff? Or
Yeah,
specific?
I am. It's not like a daily thing for me, but absolutely. And I think actually Kat and I spoke about this in Bali a while back. My rule of thumb is that, you know, if I go through my day and I do my stuff, I do my mindset work, you know, I have some client calls, I'll put my content out there, you know, and maybe have a meeting or whatever. If there's like time left over, for me, it's create content, get my message out there, or do mindset work. Like that's my TV, right? Like that's what I do in my spare time. So some days, honestly, sometimes I might do like 4+ hours of mindset work. If I'm on a plane, it's like sometimes 7 or 8 hours of mindset work. So it's in that time that often I will be like, okay, cool, who can I YouTube? And sometimes like it's literally exactly like successful people like we were talking about. I'll like Google like, I don't know, say Tim Ferriss or something, and I'll watch an interview with him, not to learn what he's saying, but how he's saying it and the thought process behind it and his energy that you can then tap into. So I'm kind of like, it's almost like I'm like analyzing their stuff so that I can then apply it rather than going, oh, that's so cool, we talked about the strategy, I don't care what he's saying. I talk about how he's being, right? So yeah, absolutely, but it's more like extra stuff, but it's kind of in the context of the time, yeah. Cool question, yeah. Question?
Okay, so it's kind of, when Kat was talking yesterday about, you know, well, who am I to deserve more than that, or I have enough, or whatever, I find that part of it a little bit hard, because I sometimes feel so grateful for my life, and I feel like, you know, I'm really lucky, and I feel content. So how do I take that feeling and still want to move it forward? Because oftentimes in my life, like I would say, like I always get what I want, but oftentimes there's like a real need to do that.
Yeah.
When it's like there's not really a need. I'm really, you know, I'm really happy, grateful for everything I have. So
Yeah.
it's a weird type of place, you know?
Yeah, I totally get it, and I love that you're centered in gratitude because you're not going to receive anything unless you are for starters. So it's kind of like you've nailed gratitude, but you haven't quite nailed self-worth. Even though you probably feel like you do, but like, you know, I feel like I'm worthy. You don't feel like you're worthy of what's next. So the world's got something lined up for you, and if I was you, I would be asking myself, what am I missing out on by not tapping into that? And what's that costing you? How much money, happiness, opportunities, cool stuff that you want to do in your life? I'd be writing out that if everything stayed the same, if nothing really shifted to, I'm not talking a little bit, I'm talking to like next level, what's that costing you? And then in order to work on it, what I've been doing is I've been writing out and I've been journaling around like evidence of why you're deserving and worthy for that next level. Again, it's like tell the world why. It needs to understand why you. Why not her, or me, right? Yeah. Look at it this way, the money's going to be allocated to someone.
Right.
And if you don't stand up and like own it and go, I want it, you just say you are. And not that that's a bad place.
No,
You're like, that's really know as well, like, have the belief that you can shift to that next level with total gratitude.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I would also be asking yourself, what kind of work do you do? Like, what's your main thing? I'm a nutritionist, right? So you're serving people. How many people are you not able to serve by selfishly staying at the same place? I'd be gearing more pain into it, right? Because then once you have that pain motivation, you start to go, okay, maybe I need to expand to a bigger level. And it's a mindset thing. I mean, I feel like there's some nights I kind of feel like, oh my gosh, my life is so awesome. I feel like there's no more room in my head to think bigger sometimes. But you just have to like just keep pushing those thresholds and that boundaries. With money, it's like a thermostat, right? If you like go, okay, I'm going to be bigger, and you take the action, it's going to bounce you back to what the thermostat's set at, unless you change the thermostat to another whole level. And know that you can do it with grace and ease and gratitude. I think that's important for you.
That's so interesting, because there's even places like right out that I go, oh, I just turned that away. Like even in the house that I live in, I'm trying to get my fiance, I'm like, well, just move into my house.
Right.
You know, instead of, you know, going, okay, well, you know, instead of, you know, $1 million house, we could live in a $3 million house. But I'm like, yeah, I don't need that.
Right.
I like where I am.
Yeah, and you need to create
But I keep
reasons
just
to
saying,
need it.
no.
Yeah, you need to create reasons to need it. Because you're right. Like, if you don't have a need for whatever is at that level, like, you won't get it. And you know what? If you don't want it, then cool. But you're here. So there's a part of you that really does want it. You're sitting on the couch. Like, so what part of you is in denial that I'm going to go to a new level? Right? What are you scared of having to give up to go to that new level? What part of you is going to have to shift and grow and change and be uncomfortable to go to that new level?
Yeah.
I'd be looking that in the
I
eye.
think it's like I want to receive it from somebody else. I want it myself.
Uh-huh.
But anyway.
Yeah, and like receiving is an interesting point around money as well, because everyone's like, oh, you know, giving is the secret to wealth, and I understand that's important, but poor people know how to give, everyone knows how to give, rich people know how to receive.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's do one more question for Regan. Who wants to ask the most powerful final question? Pressure.
Most powerful
Oh,
question.
it has to be now.
So I have a couple businesses, and in one of my businesses I have a business partner who does not have his shit figured out in terms of money. So I'm always generating like a lot of money, and he wants to spend it. And I obviously have my own budget in terms of what it is that I do in business. How do you work in that kind of situation where someone's just not as highly involved as you are in terms of the money mindset and what it is that you do, but you kind of have to work with them just because it's a way the partnership is structured?
Right, it's a really great question. I kind of feel like there's two options. He needs to like do the work on his money mindset, and it's another whole story around if you can lead him to come to that realization that maybe whatever he's driven by can be met by doing some work, getting some education, getting a coach, and actually shifting stuff. If he's willing to do the work, it will shift, obviously, and if he's committed. The other option is get out of that partnership. And I know it's not like ideal or like maybe nice to hear, but you know maybe it's a thing for you, because I can already tell like just from being in the room and where you're at. Like I could probably write out what results we have right now, and they're awesome. But maybe it's a choice of, you know, you either get to stay here in this energy with money where, yeah, you might be getting great results, but what else is there out there for you? And what if you were to step into that zone with him, without him, whatever, with someone else, doesn't matter. What if you step into there? But here's the thing, you can't like go to there and have a foot in here. Because it's like, you just stay here. It's the same with relationships. I say this all the time. You're like, what if my partner doesn't want to grow, doesn't want to get it, like he's so nice and loving and supportive? I'm like, you can't do this. He's either got to like come with you, or you're like, oh, I'll just stay here. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. It reaffirms to me what I had already laid out in terms of what my exit strategy was.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not working. It's not my responsibility to teach this person that.
Yeah.
That's theirs. So yeah, it
That's
really
right.
resonates.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And yeah, I mean, I've been in a partnership with a pretty similar situation by the sound of it, and I am so grateful that I made that decision. You know, it was literally like after it went boom, my money went boom. So much more. And I'm not saying that it was easy, I'm not saying that it was really challenging, that there were horrible conversations that were had, like we really had to do the work around that. But, you know, now it's done, and I'm really grateful that I made that decision. So I'd just be working out pros and cons of what feels right. And you know, like, I I know you're like, oh, I need to think about it or maybe strategize about it, but just like go within. What's in alignment for you? You already know. You don't need anyone here to tell you.
Awesome. Cool. How would you love to wrap it up and leave it for us, Regan?
Wrap it up. What else have I got to say?
So much, but I'm going to kick you off. Not because I want to, but because
No, that's really cool. Well, no, it's been totally awesome to be here. Like, this is me. Like, this is my soul work. This is what I love. I just love hanging out like with this vibe in this room. It's really cool. I think the biggest thing to know is that, you know, you guys are in control. You're in the driver's seat. You know, you have so much potential ahead of you. Like, most of you, even though you're so powerful, you probably haven't even tapped into like 5% of it. So if you really know that, and if you go to work on that, then I would just get really fucking excited for what lies ahead. That's about it.
Awesome. Big thank you to Regan. Give her a shout.